Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, with the grace, mercy, love, guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His biiznillah, we continue our da'wah through Positive Islamic Psychology Center and Khalifa Education Foundation in this YouTube channel on Islamic integrative healing, plus other ideas in terms of motivation and so on. So we have many channels, and we have more than 1,000 videos in various Islamic channels that we have. The YouTube channel, Positive Islamic Psychology PIP, we have more than 600 videos. Ru'ya IIH, this is a new channel. IIH is Islamic integrative healing, which I'm now trying to record about 200 to 300 videos, inshallah, which we can become a book in terms of integrative healing and understanding the depth of the healing within the framework of Islamic metaphysics, ru'ya, and so on, inshallah. So we have, in terms of Islamic psychology certification program, which is free. You can go to our website, and how we want to transform the Ummah in the 21st century using positive psychology and understanding the metaphysics of Islam, very deep understanding of metaphysics of Islam, inshallah, of how we understand our existence in terms of spiritual, emotional, mental and physical self, our roh, qalb, akal and our jasad. And the model that I was giving you was an extract of Al-Imam Ghazali's model, Hujatul Islam model, and how we actually, in terms of integrative healing, Islamic integrative healing, we harness the qualities of our spirit, heart and mind to influence our jasad. I've given many videos, many understanding in terms of how it affects ourselves in terms of placebo effect, autosuggestion, inner speech, even hypnotherapy, Pygmalion effect, quantum field effect and so on, which I've given you in the previous video. And how our SEM domain influence our physical self. That means once you understand that your healing transcends the material world, you then must harness the internalization of your roh, your qalb and akal, so that you can then manifest the reflection of the divine qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has the absolute divine qualities. That means the Asmaul Husna, which He has infused us into His thinking creature, a creature with will. We are a creature that accepted the divine challenge or the divine gift of managing this universe. Allah tells us, so we are selected as His Khalifa on this earth, and we are selected and we acceded to that challenge. That means we took up that challenge where the mountains and the universe itself refused to pick up. So we picked that up. That's why we are given free will, and we're given the ability to decide to do good or bad, and we are given intelligence, the knowledge of all things. That's why our forefathers, the first human being that we call Adam and Hawa, has this internalization of knowledge. So it is not something that they come from the monkeys and becoming human being. It is, he was manifested as a human being. Whether he's using the DNA of other whatever beings that Allah has ordained, it's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He can use the structure of the RNA, DNA of anything. Because the difference between, say for example, the DNA of a human being and of a mouse, it's only about maybe 10%. Alright, the difference between a chimpanzee and a human being is maybe 5%. But Allah manifests whatever He wills, because He gives us this roh, these divine qualities, which is a reflection from His qualities. I remember I've given you this understanding in the previous video, so you go back to my previous video, and how we can understand this deen. So I'm going to give you some idea even further as we understand this from our great teachers, where Allah has given this knowledge. For example, our great teachers of Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ghazali, and all the other teachers of, for example, Maulana Rumi. We have teachers like Badiuzzzaman Said Nursi and so on. They have explained this whole idea in very succinct, for example, detail. Badiuzzzaman Said Nursi in his magnum opus, his Risalah An-Nur. Risalah An-Nur is 5,000 pages. That is only on Risalah An-Nur, but there are many other of his writings which you combine together, gives you a very good detail of the understanding of the nature of our internal self and how we are to live in the 20th and 21st century. Because Al-Imam Badiuzzzaman Said Nursi, he passed on in 1960, so he is the reformer of the 14th century of this deen. Alright, the Mujaddid of this era. So what does he say about the nature of understanding or harnessing our integrated self? Because we understand our integrated self as having our roh, our qalb and akal. So when we understand that, we must understand the basic nature of compassion and mercy, because the whole realm of existence is based on the compassion and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you understand that our existence is dependent on the mercy and compassion of Allah, then we will not be arrogant. We will not become atheists. We will not become those who think that they are the possessor of the absolute attributes. That's why we only have a reflection of the absolute attributes of Allah. So for example, if we talk about the love, the mercy, the compassion, the forgiveness of Allah and so on, all the 99 beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are infused with those qualities, but in some small measure. That means this some small measure is Allah has absolute attribute. That attribute is reflected in our existence as a human being. So from the perspective of this deen is built on the foundation of what? If you read the Quran, what that Allah tells us over and over again, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, in the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate. So the foundational existence of this universe is actually compassion. The mercy and compassion of Allah is infused in everything that we see in this universe. Whether it is infused in the electron or the proton or the neutron, it is infused in the stars, it's infused in the moon, it is infused in the nature of all creatures living on this earth. So that infusion of the manifestation of the mercy and compassion of Allah is the guiding principles of this deen. So one who does not have mercy and compassion, according to the hadith, is not a Muslim in a way. I mean, they are not practicing the deen. So what happened over the last 200 to 300 years is where we have a very harsh form of Islam that is being promoted under the name of Salafism or Wahhabism or IS or whatever it is. And this is the downfall of the Ummah, because we lack the knowledge of understanding of the way of life that Allah has infused us in us. So the basic foundation of harnessing your integrated self is understanding the nature of compassion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created the universe, and this is one hadith, it's just a meaning of this hadith, He infuses one of the 100, of 100, that means there's 99 more mercy that is in the hereafter. Out of that one mercy that Allah gives to the universe could exist. The stars could exist. The human being could exist. The plants can give us food. The animals, the wild animals can nurture their young. That is the one aspect. So one aspect of the mercy of Allah is, for example, if we exist on this earth, where do we get our air? We breathe. So we get this oxygen. This is from the mercy of Allah. Alright, just one aspect. Where do we get our sight? It is from the mercy of Allah. Where do we get our knowledge? It is from the mercy of Allah. So everything that exists is based on the mercy of Allah as the absolute mercy and compassion. That's why in Islam, this is the fundamental principles of the metaphysics of Islam. That means if anybody say Islam is a religion of harshness, they are wrong, because Islam is a religion of compassion. So this deen is based on compassion. So if you want to integrate yourself, your spiritual, emotional, mental and physical self, it must be imbued with the qualities of compassion. That is a very basic. So without compassion, without the Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, that we do everything in the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate, before we eat, before we step out of the house, before we go to the mosque and so on. This Bismillah is the infusion in this world of one of the mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That out of that one mercy, we can exist. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the explanation of the hadith where Rasulullah says, in the hereafter, Allah brings all the 99 mercy that He has reserved for His ummah, for humanity, and combine it together. In the hereafter, we receive the fullness of the grace, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is very important, especially when we have harshness in terms of upbringing of the children, harshness in terms of the political Islam, which is, a lot of it is irrelevant. So I'm not in favor of having, say, this shaykh talking about, you know, we must fight the kuffar, we must take bombs and kill yourself and so on. those are not Islamic perspective. That is not the deen of mercy and compassion. So it is very important for us to go back to the fundamental basics of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as a reflection, we absorb the mercy and compassion of Allah in our daily lives. So if we want to have the strength, for example, of the spiritual, emotional and mental domains and our physical domains, where we can at a cellular level improve ourselves. That means you want to achieve success in life, you want to achieve happiness in life, you want to achieve the fullness of life in terms of good health. All that boils down back to the nature of understanding that everything that we have enjoyed on this earth coming from the mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we understand that, then we use that as a fundamental principle of our existence on this earth, and always relying everything that we do on the mercy and the compassion of Allah. So everything that we do, we want to heal ourselves. He is the Ya Allah Ya Shafi, the beautiful name. He is the healer. So when we call upon Allah, the beautiful names, Ya Allah, Ya Ghafur, Ya Wadud, He is the most forgiving, the most loving. You are calling upon the beautiful names. You are calling upon the absolute name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you call upon, you are trying to replicate in some small measure that beautiful attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the same thing, we must try to replicate within ourselves in some small measure, to the best that we can, the one mercy that Allah has given us. In store for us is the 99 mercies in the hereafter. But you will not be able to be open to the 99 mercies if you don't have, you acknowledge this one mercy that He's given us, this deen, the beautiful deen of Islam, living within, being a mu'min, being faithful to the way of our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Quran and the Sunnah. That is a basic understanding of absorbing some small measure of the mercies of Allah and reflecting in the way we live. That means, for example, if we see a dog, we don't kick a dog. All right. If the dog, there's one even in the stories that where even by feeding water to the dog, you get to go to heaven. So you see a dying cat, or you see a lame man, you see a poor man, you see injustice in this earth, you see so many things. You try to do something in some small measure. Naturally, you cannot do everything because you are limited by your capacity. Allah is unlimited. You are limited. But because if you are limited, you try to your level best within your capacity to lead a life full of compassion. All right? And when you understand that, then you understand what is Islam. And when you understand what is Islam, then you can bring about a change of the ummah in terms of changing yourself, changing your family, changing the society, the ummah, and striving to make ourselves good, helping others to be good, making the world good, on being the Caliph of Allah on this earth, inshallah.